Janaranjana Asuranandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Govinda Gopala 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 Govinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Sri Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Sri Radhe. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Shri Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Govardhana Ki Jai, Shri Krishna Balaram Giri Govardhana Ki Jai, Shri Gauri Thai Ki Jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning's class is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, reading from text 28. Iti dharmam mahim chaiva sanvayitva maharata nishatam adare kadgam kalaye dharma hetave. Translation. Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion and the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion. Translation, please repeat. Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion and the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion. Purport. As described above, the personality of Kali is he who deliberately commits all kinds of sinful acts which are forbidden in the revealed scriptures. This age of Kali will certainly be full of activities of Kali, but this does not mean that the leaders of society, the executive heads, the learned, intelligent men, or above all, the devotees of the Lord, should sit down tightly and become callous to the reactions of the age of Kali. In the rainy season, certainly there will be profuse rainfalls, but that does not mean that men should not take means to protect themselves from the rains. It is the duty of the executive heads of state and others to take all necessary actions against the activities of Kali or the persons influenced by the age of Kali. And Maharaj Parikshit is the ideal executive head of the state, for at once he was ready to kill the personality of Kali with his sharp sword. The administrator should not simply pass resolutions for anti-corruptional steps, but they must be ready with sharp swords to kill the persons creating corruptions from the angle of vision of the recognized Shastras. The administrators cannot prevent corrupt activities by allowing wine shops. They must at once close all shops of intoxicating drugs and wine and force punishment, even by death, for those who indulge in habits of intoxication of all description. That is the way of the stopping the activities of Kali as exhibited herein by Maharaj Parikshit the Maharatha. So the punishment and reward of Kali, this is the chapter. So Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Arjuna, the famous Pandava, the great general, great devotee of Lord Krishna, as all his brothers were, and their wives, everyone were great devotees of Lord Krishna. And Maharaj Parikshit, certainly, he had the vision of the Lord even before he was born in the womb, when Ashwatthama threw the heat weapon that penetrated the womb of Uttara, the mother, that the Lord came to protect him even before he was born into the world. So Maharaj Parikshit saw Krishna at that time and was so overwhelmed at the sight of the Supreme Lord that his love and affection since before he was born was manifest in him. So too, those that are very fortunate, the children who take birth in the devotee families, they are very privileged that they are able to come and see the Lord in the temple, hear the chanting, take prasadam, associate with the devotees right from the early age of their lives, and that will stay with them even though whatever else they may do later on in life, that will stay embedded. As all of us know, most of us know that we remember a lot of things from our childhood and deeply impressed on the consciousness, even subconsciously sometimes, we're not always aware, but it's there. So, but of course Maharaj Parikshit, not only in his childhood, throughout his whole life, he was a devotee of Krishna, and that of course is always the best, that not your whole life. Of course it's not an easy thing, especially in the age of Kali. It's not an easy thing to remain devotee and to remain devotee the whole life because of all the distractions and influences. In the previous ages, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, those ages were more conducive. Especially Satya Yuga, everyone was very spiritual, everyone was very inclined to follow social and spiritual and activities that were very beneficial, not only materially but spiritually as well. But in the Kali, it's the opposite. So it is said actually that those living entities who have really gross desires, they take birth in the Kali Yuga. And that's you and I. Our desires are more gross materially. Our material desires are more gross compared to the people of the other ages. The other ages, the people had more subtle desires, especially spirituality. The culture was different. The culture today, of course, it changes from country to country, but there's a similarity all over the world, and that the culture of materialism. And so people are brought up in that culture and expect things for themselves and others in that culture. But unfortunately, Kali here, the personality of Kali. Now I have read in one of the Puranas that there is a personality of Kali who he took birth from, he's a son of Kashyapa Muni. He's the son of Kashyapa Muni, and with one of the wives of Kashyapa. Kashyapa had many wives, and one of the wives, the wife's name was Muni. And so he took birth. He's been empowered to spread the atmosphere that is conducive for people who have really gross desires, who really want materialistic lifestyle. And not only that, but those who are very, as you go down lower and lower in the mode of ignorance and the tamaguna, then people's desires not only materialistic, they want to achieve their enjoyment at the cost of everybody else. They don't mind, stealing and committing violence or even murdering others to get what they want. This is very much a symptom of the age of Kali. Whereas people in the mode of goodness, they're different. They would sacrifice their own pleasure and satisfaction to give satisfaction and pleasure to others. They don't like to see others suffering. They don't like to cause pain, whether it's verbally or mentally or physically especially. They don't like it. They're averse to that. But there are others, and there's a predominance of those. Now, the mode of goodness people, they were very more predominant in the Treta Yuga and the Satya Yuga, the golden age. The other ages, people were more in the mode of the Sattva Guna, mode of goodness. So the atmosphere was very nice. Everyone would treat themselves and treat each other with respect and tolerance and patience and kindness and so on and so forth. And you can experience, actually, as you travel around the world, that in some areas people are hard, people are callous, they're very impersonal, or you have to be careful in what areas you go. Some cities are very dangerous. Pretty much in Kali Yuga, everywhere is dangerous. But in some places are very, very dangerous. You have to be careful. I remember a godbrother of mine, Taman Krishna Maharaj, who's now passed away, but he was telling me he grew up in New York, and he said he had to be very careful, coming home from school even. He had to avoid certain streets, because, there were gangs hanging out on those streets. So he was telling me like that. It was very dangerous if he went, got caught up in the wrong area. So, it's like that everywhere in the world. So it's very dangerous. And there are people around that like to cause a lot of trouble. And Kali, being a personality, he's empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, Kali, although he is here depicted in the way that he's beating this is symbolic. This is both symbolic and actually factual. This occurrence here that's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's symbolic that the form of the earth, she took the form of the cow, and the form of the religious principles, he took the form of the bull. So, devas, demigods, they can change their forms. It's not like us. They are very powerful beings. They're from other systems, and they actually can change. They're shapeshifters. It's this term, shapeshifter. Someone's a shapeshifter. They're shapeshifters. They can change their shape. They can change their form. So she appeared. She's a goddess. So goddess Earth. Earth. There's a personality. She's a goddess, and she can change her form. She can appear in any form she likes. Quite often she appears in the shape of the cow in this particular instance. So it's symbolic. She represents Mother Earth, of course, and Dharmaraj, he is the religion personified. He appeared as a bull. So it's symbolic. And then the Kali, he's a personality. He's beating on the legs of the bull, the austerity and the cleanliness, the mercy, and even beating on the truthfulness leg. So these are also kind of symbolic, although it also factually happened. And it factually happened to show the symbolic significance of it. See, so therefore, this was going on, and Kali was dressed as a king, as a great king and leader, and he was doing this. So it just signifies, very symbolic. And then in the future, he started with this activity. That in the future, this would go on by the future leaders. And Kali himself started, and he was dressed like that. Now Maharaj Parikshit, who is actually a king, an emperor, and here he's referred to as a Maharata. Maharata means he is very powerful. They're not ordinary personalities. The Kshatriyas of the past, they were very extraordinary people, even in physique. They were actually a lot bigger than everybody else. They were bred that way. In today's world, we have breeding. If you want a champion horse or a mare or something like that, you breed them through the bloodline, isn't it? It goes on like that. Whether it's a bull, a cow, or a horse, or a sheep, or whatever it is, if you want the top-notch kind of species there, you breed them. And that's the way, going back eons, that's the way it's done. And so actually this was the case. It was a question of breeding, and Kshatriyas were very, very big, much bigger than other people. They were very, very strong. There's descriptions in the different Shastras that they actually, even their skin was harder and tougher and strong, and also not only they were physically strong, but they also had knowledge of mystical things and mantras that could control weaponry. So when here the description is given, he's a Maharata. He could fight with 1,000 enemies single-handedly. If 1,000 people were to attack, he could fight them off. Right? And it's not an exaggeration, because they had the mystical, they had the mantras, and also their physical, everything combined, they could actually do it. There were different levels of Kshatriyas, Ratas, Maharatas, Adiratas, and so on and so on. All these descriptions are given. And so they were different categories, Dronacharya, Bhishma, these were Arjuna, these were, even amongst Kshatriyas, they were right up there. The other Kshatriyas were down. But they were right up. So they were gigantic people, and of course, as I said, much bigger. So Maharaj Parikshit, he's the actual king. Now they're trained. Now they're bred and they're trained. Now he was a devotee before his. So they're trained through the youth how to be a king. It's not just an election. Someone may have no experience of being a leader, just that he's charismatic or she's charismatic, and people are kind of attracted to them, and they go around and campaign, and then everyone votes for them. But what training have they got actually? Maybe they have got training, or maybe they haven't got any training at all. But you have to have training to be able to lead people. And it's not a question of just asserting yourself. It's a question, Prabhupada once said that a leader can only lead when others agree to follow that leader. You can claim yourself a leader, but if no one wants to follow you, then what's the good of you claiming yourself to be a leader? So you have to win over people, and it's not by command and demand. It's by just people automatically, very naturally. This person is very, very exalted person. That person inspires me. That person is very exemplary. Such good qualities. I'm very inspired. So we have leaders in all areas. Here we have the king in the government. We have leaders in the arts. People are just naturally attracted by their qualities. they're naturally attracted. Unfortunately, in the age of Kali, a lot of people in the mode of ignorance, so they're attracted by those who have an abundance of the mode of ignorance quality. So they're attracted to those types of personalities. But those more in the mode of goodness, they're attracted to those with great quality. So Maharaj Parikshit, he arrived at the scene symbolically, and also happened again. I reiterate that it actually factually happened. He arrived at the scene, and Mother Earth, who was crying, being beaten, practically beaten to death, and the bull being beaten, and Maharaj Parikshit was very shocked because he ran the kingdom, and not only him, he had his ministers and everything. The governance they were trained right through their whole lives to have all the higher qualities, to how to govern all these things. They were trained. So he was very shocked to see that, because they would go out and tour around. They would go out, they would have others go out, make sure everything was all right in the kingdom. And especially they had to give protection to people. Kshatriya, Chat-triety. Chat, it means to hurt. Chat, to hurt, and triate, protection. But the hurt, someone, only to give protection, not just for other things. If someone is being attacked, and there's a threat of, once someone's going to lose their life, then there has to be protection. So there's a need in society for police, although, sometimes we don't like the police. There's a need in society for military, because unfortunately, it'd be great in the Satya Yuga, there was no need for police and military and all these things, because everyone just behaved properly. Everyone, the doors are open. Try leaving your doors open in the cities these days. Everyone will rush in and steal all your things. So you just can't, so it was a different culture back then. So they didn't need police and military. Of course, later on, in trade, and especially the Dwapara Yuga, they had that. Although they had even, in the past ages, but it was more for just governance rather than, protection and all against the corruptions. Those sort of things didn't go on. So military were around in the former ages, and they helped in the governance. Just like, in India, they have the Kumbh Mela. The Kumbh Mela is a big festival. They have the Maha Kumbh Mela every 12 years, every 4 years they have a smaller Kumbh Mela. But many millions of people go to the Triveni or Haridwar, the different holy places they have the Kumbh Mela. And millions of people come. So to help organize it, they bring the government brings the military in to, organize the roads and then this and this. So these are the sort of things that they were engaged in the former age, not so much, fighting countries around the world and stuff things like that. But these days, unfortunately, because of the prevalence of the mode of ignorance, there's a lot of activity there's a lot of violence, a lot of stealing and so on and so forth. So there has to be protection. So when Maharaj Parikshit came there, Mother Earth, Dharmaraj, the bull, felt relieved. Oh, here's Maharaj Parikshit now. And there was no question of Kali challenging Maharaj Parikshit, because Kali is not a real Kshatriya. So as soon as Maharaj Parikshit came there, he dropped his sword and was like stunned in fright. It was all right beating the cow and the bull, but when a real Kshatriya, when Maharaj Parikshit came there, immediately gave up the royal dress and everything. He was dressed as a king, posing himself, and this was all symbolic. But anyway, so then he did, and then later on we'll read in the next few verses that he just drops his sword and says, "No, all right, I'm gonna challenge you." No way, he just dropped his sword. This is a Kshatriya here, not only a Kshatriya. This is Maharaj Parikshit. He's a Maharata. He just dropped his sword and surrendered. Now he surrendered to Maharaj Parikshit, and Maharaj Parikshit, a Kshatriya. So Prabhupada actually mentions in the next few verses that normally a Kshatriya would never surrender. They take up the challenge. That's just their spirit. They have a different spirit. If they're challenged, they accept it. All right, it's like a duel or something like that. between them. Or you challenge me, therefore I have to fight. So their natures are different from the other type of people. So, you know, they have to practice these things, and they're challenged, they have to, but so another instance of Kali not really being a Kshatriya. He didn't accept any challenge. He didn't even dare to fight with Maharaj Parikshit. Immediately dropped his sword. So here Prabhupada makes the point that, all right, Kali's come, and now we're already advanced 5,000 years into the age of Kali. There's another 427,000 years to go of Kali. So already it's bad enough, you know. But nevertheless, what are we going to do? And Prabhupada gives the examples. It's just like in the rainy season, the rain really comes down. I don't know if any of you lived in where they have actual rainy season, you know. Like in most countries they have 4 different seasons, but in some countries like Indonesia, where I go regularly, and Philippines and all these kind of Asian countries, they have like 6 months of rainy season. They don't have other seasons. They have 6 months rainy season, 6 months dry season. That's what it is. 6 months dry, 6 months rainy season. So when it's rainy season, it comes down like anything. So what are you going to do? You're going to stand in the rain? You know, well, it's raining, just stand. No, I mean, you know, you can get wet and then get cold and you can get sick. So you got to protect yourself from the rain. You got to build a hut or a house, or, you know, whatever it is needed to protect yourself from the rain. You're not just going to just take all the rain, and, you know, because it keeps coming down for 6 months. So what are you going to, okay, are you going to tolerate it for a day or 2 or a week? What are you going to tolerate it for 6 months? No. You're going to make arrangement to somehow or other protect yourself from the torrential rain. So Prabhupada uses that example and said, all right, Kali Yuga is here. Now Kali comes, he comes personally, and he instigates all these very sinful activities. And then he influences others, and then they influence others. So therefore, and then it's spread all over the place now. It's spread all. Now he comes also, he's still coming. He can come in any shape and form. He's another one of these ones. He can come in any shape and form and influence this one and that one, or personally instigate something. Maybe it's getting too good over here. Oh, I'm going to get over there and snuff that out. You know, it's getting too good over there. I'm going to snuff that. So that's his. You could say it's like a service. He's empowered because it's the age is like that, has to be like that. At the end of the age, Kalki comes and he liberates everybody. But he has to do that. It's like a thankless task, you know, that he has to arrange everything. He's actually a deva, but he's empowered by the Lord to do these things, and he influences others. So many others are influenced by him. So that's going on. But we have to counteract that. So Prabhupada says here that in the rainy season, certainly be profuse rain. That does not mean that one should not take means to protect themselves. It is the duty of the executive heads of state and others to take all necessary actions against the activities of Kali, or the persons influenced by Kali, or influenced by the age of Kali. So here Maharaj Parikshit was ideal head. He showed by example. He was ready to punish. Some things are so heinous that like murderers, for example. In the Vedic Shastras, the punishment is death, because the karma will be, if someone murders someone else, they will have to be killed themselves. That's the karma, because they murdered someone. They will have to be killed, maybe many lives over. But if one is sentenced to death, and then because that one killed this person or killed many persons, and that one is sentenced to death, then that karma's gone. You understand? That karma that person accrued from killing other people, that karma's gone now, and then in the next life they can start again. But if the death sentence isn't there, then the karma will accrue over many lives. So they'll have to suffer life after life for those deaths. And not only that, but it is said also that the leaders who don't pronounce the death penalty on that person, they have to suffer for not doing it. They have to suffer for not pronouncing that on them. It's said that a leader has to, someone in a position like an executive head has to, because they are supposed to oversee things. So whatever goes on, if there are negative things going on, they have to share in that reaction of what those negative things are, because they're in a position of leadership. And if there are good things going on, they get to share the reaction, the good reactions to that. So it behooves the leader to make sure good things are going on everywhere, because they get the benefit. So the individual gets the benefit of the good things going on. That's their karma. But the one who organizes it all, they get extra benefit because they're doing it, and because they've organized it, they get the benefit from the others doing it as well. So those in the leadership position have to be very, very careful. It's like a double-edged sword. It can work two ways. The good things, you get some benefit from that. Bad things, you're going to get some reaction from that as well. You're in a position of leading. Now, the unfortunate thing in the Kali Yuga is not only the leaders aren't doing anything, they're encouraging the bad things in many ways. Encouraging. Do this and do that, do the other thing. Because they don't know, they're uneducated. They don't know about the subtle laws of karma and all this type of thing. They're very engrossed in the materialistic kind of attitude towards things. So it's very, very important. So Maharaj Parikshit was an ideal. He showed by example that yes, he was going to rectify this situation immediately. Immediately. He wasn't going to tolerate it for a second. So he immediately. So therefore it's up to us now to try to counteract it for ourselves, and try to help as much as possible, try to help others. Of course we can't force. It's up to the individual. But therefore we're very fortunate in the movement. I think Krishna Kirtan talked about the incarnation of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, chanting, dancing, doing these activities. Those who are interested in philosophy. Prabhupada said mainly for the masses of people there are two programs. One is chanting, and the other one's prasadam. Who was telling me? I think you were telling me Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj mentioned about Jagannath. Lord Jagannath, so nice. He said he is the eating god. Because in Jagannath Puri, he serves so many offerings. What is it? 53 offerings in a day. Just like here, we offer the Lord, how many times? 6 offerings a day. But in Puri, the Lord gets 53 offerings a day. So sometimes he's known as the eating god. And Lord Chaitanya, he is the chanting god. The chanting and dancing. And all the followers of Lord Chaitanya are chanting and dancing. So for the mass of people, these things will be the chanting and prasadam distribution. Prabhupada told us this. Chanting and prasadam distribution. And those who want to know a little bit more, they're interested in the philosophy and the teachings and everything like that, all right, then we can explain a little bit, just like we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam about these things. And we certainly want to distribute the books all over the world, even if they're not interested. But we give them to them, and it's up to them whether they read it. And who knows what the result of giving a book to someone. They may not read it themselves. I know one of my godbrothers became a devotee. He was at a party, and he wasn't really much into it. Just sitting on the couch, he felt a lump under the cushion. And he pulled it out, and it was the Bhagavad Gita. Right? Whoever had put the Bhagavad Gita ended up under the cushion. So he felt, and he didn't. Right in the party, everything was going on, and he just started reading Bhagavad Gita. And he said from that time, and he just read it, and he said, I actually just took it home. He didn't think anyone would mind. And he took it home, and he gradually read it and became a devotee. So who knows? The Gita was obviously given to someone else. But he was the one that read it, and he was the one that became a devotee. So we don't know how these things work. It's all the living entity individually, and the Supreme Personality in the form of the book, in the form of the prasadam, in the form of the chanting and dancing. The Lord's devotee, just like the other day was Vakrashvara Pandit's disappearance anniversary, and he's famous for chanting. He chanted and danced one time for 3 days non-stop. Chanted and danced for 3 days. in the house of Srivas. Now, in the house of Srivas Pandit, before Lord Chaitanya went to Jagannath Puri, they would have kirtans that went all through the night, just chanting and dancing. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, in the house of Srivas. And so one time, and some of they just went all night long. Sometimes Lord Chaitanya would twirl around, dance. Sometimes Lord Chaitanya would jump in the air. Jump in the air and stay in the air. Now, we can't do that. But Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda jumped in the air and stayed in the air. And everyone was like, oh, you're going to fall. But actually, he just stayed there. And then when he wanted to come down, he just came down. So these are some of the pastimes described in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangala, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so, and Vakreshvara Pandit, he would chanting for 3 days, and then he went to Jagannath Puri when Lord Chaitanya, chanting and dancing. So many wonderful pastimes are there. Also, I was reading about Hera Panchami, where when Lord Chaitanya, when Lord Jagannath comes out of the temple and to go to Gundicha temple. This is 5 days after the Rath Yatra. There's a festival, very wonderful festival called Hera Panchami in Jagannath Puri. Is very much observed. We don't so much observe it over here, but it's very observed there. Now Lakshmi, who's the goddess of fortune, who's Lord Jagannath's wife, Lord Jagannath told her that he would just go out for a day and then come back. So, but then she was waiting for him to come back, and then after 5 days, he didn't come back. So she was worried, and she was a little annoyed that he said he would come back, and he didn't come back. So she set out on her own raft to go, because she knew he was with his brother and sister, Lord Balaram and Subhadra Devi, at Gundicha. So she went out, and she was in a little bit of an angry mood that he said he was coming back. And this is a Leela, and he didn't. And so she went up there in her cart, and then when it's mentioned that when Lord Jagannath heard she was coming and he knew she was a bit angry, he told his servants to lock the door. Don't let her in. So then she got there, and she saw the door was locked. So then she became more angry. She called out to Lord Jagannath, and she made some sarcastic remarks. Oh, you think I'm coming and you lock the door on me? You promised to come back after a day, and then I come up here and you lock the door when I come here? And are you more attached to spending time with your brother and your sister than your wife? This is the whole conversation that went on, and she was kind of in a bit of an angry mood. And so, Lord Jagannath, he was kind of in there, didn't say anything. And then she kind of went off in a huff, and she told her servants to break part of Lord Jagannath's cart. Break it, just to vent her anger. So they broke a part of his cart, and then she went back like a back road back to the temple. So there's a very wonderful festival. So I was reading about this wonderful festival that they do that. In the beginning they were just doing chanting, but one king organised this big festival for Goddess Lakshmi when she came out. So all these wonderful things that you can do in spiritual life, chanting, dancing, eating prasadam, everything like that, associating with one another. So, and then spreading this type of culture to all over the world. So this is the protection from the rains of the Kali. The rains of the Kali. The rains of the Kali will continue right through. There's 427, but that doesn't mean we have to just get bombarded with the torrents of rain of the Kali. We can build a shelter, and the rains will fall, but they won't come down on the shelter. So those who want to come under the shelter of the spiritual movement, especially of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I always remember, and I've said many times before here, that when Srila Prabhupada came to Rath Yatra in Melbourne, at the end of the parade in the exhibition building, he gave a short speech, and he said, "Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to this Rath Yatra festival and participating in the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This movement is about chanting and dancing. It is the highest perfection of life." And he gave a speech like more or less like that. So even though it's a simple thing, this chanting And some people question, what, are you just going to chant all the time? What else do you do? Well, you do other things, but the chanting is the focus. It's a simple thing, easy thing. I always remember this lady after a lecture I gave in Adelaide Temple one time. He said, what do you do for your meditation? I said, we chant Hare Krishna. He said, what else do you do? I said, we chant more Hare Krishna. In other words, everything is in the mantra. There's no need for anything. If you just concentrate, everything is contained in there. The Supreme Personality, His internal potency, or the material energy, everything is there in the mantra. It's very imperceptible to those who are materialists. But those who are a little bit more developed, they can understand these things, and to some degree. It's only when one becomes a very perfected devotee that you get to understand fully the mood of what is this chanting, what is this dancing. And it's not artificial thing, it's a very natural thing to chant. Just like Vakashvara chanted and danced, and Haridas Thakur just chanted all the time, did non-stop chanting, just totally absorbed in these things. So this is the means of overcoming, and if we can influence people, if we live the life ourselves, it's very wonderful. If we can influence others, that's fantastic. And then the Kali, the activities will be curtailed. Kali will still go on, but the activities actually can be curtailed, and especially those who take it up fully, they will be protected from the onslaught of the Kali Yuga. So Hare Krishna, thank you very much. I'll read this verse again if anyone has any questions. Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion and the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion. Any questions? Right out the back here. You have to speak up. I'm a little hard of hearing. Oh, you've got a mic, okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. Wonderful lecture. So I'm always confused back and forth, like, I say somebody killed somebody, and obviously you want that person have a death penalty because he killed somebody. But at the same time, the person who was killed was in his karma.
Was
his karma to be killed?
Yeah.
And so how do you, I still have issues with the karma and actually protecting somebody from that happen. Let's say somebody wants to hurt him and I want to protect him. And so what is his karma really? What is my doing?
Well, everyone has to do their duty. In other words, whatever the karma, it's very difficult to understand what the karma, it may be their karma to be killed because they killed previously, and their karma is now they're being killed themselves in the next life. It may be, or it may be that person is just innocent and someone kills them. So we don't know exactly. That is known by Krishna. He knows all the karma and all the agents of Krishna who are deputed to know those things. What is the karma? We don't know. But we act according to what our duty should be. If someone, whatever their karma is, if you can help them, say someone goes over there and attacks someone, he's going to kill them. Now, there is one story I was just reading the other week, that where someone was, there was an old man walking along the road, and he was hobbling along, and he was attacked by a vulture. Attacked because he was really old and just hobbling along. He was attacked by a vulture, and there was a farmer at a distance. There was a sage in the distance. The farmer was closer and the sage was further. The sage came running. The farmer was just looking up, didn't do anything. And then the vulture actually killed that old man. And now, when the sage got there, it was too late, and he went over to the farmer. You were a lot close. Why didn't you do something to help that poor man? Because you didn't do anything, you're going to get karma. You see? This is one story I was just reading from the Puranas. You're going to get the karma because you didn't take action. So it's our duty to try to help someone. You don't stand over here, someone's going to murder someone over there. Well, that's their karma. I'm not going to interfere with that, no. It may be, whatever it is, we don't know if it's their karma or it's just that they're innocent, they're being attacked, it's getting initiated right there, that can be. But our duty is, we did our duty. We did our duty. The result is up to Krishna. Krishna decides all these things. So, but we did our duty. So there are certain duties, what's called svadharmas. There's dharma and there's svadharma, different duties for all of us. So, of course, people can act differently in emergencies. So I think it was mentioned earlier that Maharaj Parikshit, there was no emergency going on where, this personality was killing the cow because he was starving to death and there was nothing else to eat. And therefore so in emergencies there's some provision, like someone attacks you, where's the money, or I'm going to kill you, or where's your family, or my family, I don't know, so you're lying. But in that situation you're allowed to do that. You see, there's provision for that. In that situation you're allowed to do that. You can lie if it's to save your life or to save your others' lives. You see, you can do that, but that's an emergency. But generally, there are certain things you have to follow, otherwise the karma comes. And so, but if someone's getting their karma over there, then your duty is to do whatever your duty is. You have to help them. You understand? Okay. Yes, sir.
I have one question, but also just because you're talking about that, just the point I'm trying to understand also, you can only just interfere if it's not gonna, like, say somebody's killing someone from me, like, who am I to interfere because I'll be killed too? Like in this situation.
Well, okay, you may be not so strong. That person, you're no match for the person who's doing that. But you do whatever you can. Call someone else or get on the phone. Call the police. Whatever if you don't do any action, that's not good. All right. Well, if you go there, what can you do? It's like, just like, you may be out in the ocean and a big. Like I read some story some while ago that some guy was surfing or something and there was a big white pointer out there. So the white pointer's attacking, so maybe you can do something, but if you go there, maybe you'll also get eaten as well. So those are considerations. It's not just a blanket thing. So those are considerations. So you need to consider that. You're not going to be a match for a great white shark, you know what I mean? So, but do what you can. Raise the alarm, do something. But if you do nothing, then that's not very good.
Just in relation to personality of Kali and the personality of Maya. Just thinking, are they working together? Like, I know
they're all in it together.
they do team up. Like, I don't know. How does that?
Well, they're separate entities. They're just like someone asked me some time about is Kali the same as goddess Kali? And I said, well, no. First of all, it's Kali. The goddess is with a long A, Kali, and the personality is Kali with a short A, so they're pronounced differently. But they're also different personalities. She appears as the wife of Lord Shiva. And so her energy, but yeah, they're kind of, Maya has her function, Kali has his function, and there's some connection there, but it's consciously and so on and so forth. The Kali is empowered and works in a certain way. So yes, he will use Maya. Maya may facilitate that for Kali because it's the age of Kali. So she has to facilitate it. So therefore, that an arrangement is made. So some collaboration may be there. It may be there, but generally they work in their own areas. There's one last question.
Maharaj, you mentioned how the personality of Kali, one of the symptoms that he could show himself as not being a Kshatriya is that he was a coward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that is a very typical defect of Kali Yuga people?
Yeah.
There's a lot of abuse going on in the world by people who, yes, abuse children or old people or weak people or animals.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when it comes to facing a personality or someone,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
they would like kind of.
Yeah, very good point. That's true actually, because that action was also symbolic, because he was actually a coward, and it's quite often those who are abusive and violent, they pick on the weaker, but when they're faced with the stronger, then they turn into cowards all of a sudden, they scream and quite often you see this with dogs. Dogs, vicious dogs, they attack. But then when someone comes and beats them, you ever seen that? But one second ago you were, but then when the bigger dog came or the people came and beat you, right? So just to switch. So it's actually it is symbolic, because people who abuse are generally cowards. And so he was actually, Kali signified that in a very symbolic way, that he turned into a coward when in front of Maharaj Pariksit. But in front of the bull and the cow, he was a big mean man, right? But in front of the actual real strong person, but yes, people are affected like that. There are many people, especially affected by the Kali Yuga, they're like that. So that action in itself is symbolic in many ways, and that's one of the ways it's symbolic. Yeah, very good point. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.